Scientists have made a chilling discovery.
All right, let's see it.
After analyzing the Holy Shroud, a fabric believed to have wrapped the body of Christ after his crucifixion and has baffled the world for centuries, as it bears a faint image of the front and back of a bearded man, which many believe is Jesus' body imprinted onto the fabric. Now, using new techniques involving X-rays, researchers can confirm it was manufactured around 2,000 years ago, and it's believed that Jesus lived.
So as one might expect from the Daily Mail, this is just a sensationalistic misrepresentation of research, and specifically research published in this 2019 article and in this 2022 article, both of which were published in the open access journal Heritage. Now, these articles don't claim to have confirmed that the Shroud of Turin is 2,000 years old. What both of these articles claim is that if you apply an experimental method for dating old fabrics known as waxes, which is an initialism for wide-angle X-ray scattering, the results are consistent with a 2,000-year-old piece of fabric. Now, I'm not an expert in this. There are not many experts in this methodology because it is pretty new, it is experimental. So that raises an issue in and of itself. But there are a few other things to note. One, these articles both require that a certain calibration of both temperature and humidity be pretty consistent over multiple centuries for the results to actually indicate that the shroud is as old as they want it to be. Second, the majority of the authors of these two articles were also the authors of a 2017 article arguing that the blood on the shroud is consistent with someone who was tortured. That was subsequently retracted because there were significant criticisms of the findings, and the journal editors decided that the data did not support the conclusions of the article. So the majority of the authors on these two studies have a history of going beyond the data in trying to prove the authenticity of the shroud. And those scholars are also rather committed to the authenticity of the shroud. In fact, one of them claimed that in 1998 they had a personal revelation confirming the authenticity of the shroud while they were standing in front of it. But we don't really have any expert responses to these papers yet, so we don't have a lot that we can say, apart from the fact that this conflicts with the consensus among scientists that the shroud is a mid-14th century forgery, and the shroud first pops up in the historical record around 1354 in France. And in 1989, radiocarbon dating found that it dated to the late 13th to the mid-14th century CE. So most likely, this is a medieval forgery. Now, as with all things related to dogmas, there are going to be people who insist that the academic consensus is misguided, or it is based on lies or improper methodologies or things like that. But the argument that still convinces the majority of scholars, based on the data that are available to us today, is that the shroud is a medieval production and does not go back to the time of Jesus. And the fit for today's share is the gambit.